Welcome to Real Stories in Real Estate with your host, Denise Laframboise. Real people sharing real stories about their adventures in real estate.
Hi there. So welcome to Real Stories in Real Estate, the podcast where we talk to people about things that they've done in real estate, the good, and they share the good, bad, and the ugly about their personal experiences. So I'm your host, Denise Laframboise, and today we have Chris Christian with us. Welcome, Chris.
Morning. Hi.
So Chris is going to share with us her experience about buying a home that might not have been as desirable for other people. So she's got some great stories to tell us today. And Chris, do you want to fill us in a little bit on the experience you had buying your current home?
Well, we like to, with our first home, we bought a kind of a fixer-upper. We flipped that in 5 years and we thought, hey, we could do this again. We contacted a real estate agent who was kind of on the market for us. And I saw this house come on the market and I said, hey, this is the house we're kind of looking for. It's really bad shape, really rough shape, great neighborhood, but much smaller, but this kind of bones.
But so she says, how bad is shape? What did you think you were buying?
Well, just seeing it online, I could tell that all the baseboards were really small. There was holes in the walls. You knew right away it was a little bit of a fixer-upper. So Sandra says, just for giggles, let's go and take a look at it. We made an offer that day and they jumped at it. We couldn't figure out why. We're like, this is on 2 acres down in Christmas Row in Curtis. Yeah. Why am I getting an executive home for $669,000? So, hey, we ended up getting the house. We're doing a walkthrough and I bring my handyman and he's taking a look around and he says, we got a problem. Well, what's the problem? He says, you have rats, maybe raccoons. Wait a minute, let's rethink this. I was like, well, no sooner did he say that, did the tiles in the basement start moving? And I thought, oh my gosh, there's a raccoon. We had New York City sewer rats with backsides this big in this house, infesting the walls. So they wanted to contain or actually shut the house down for a year. The city did, but because we own a cleaning service and we've gone in and done hoarder homes before, and this was a hoarder home, so it wasn't the only thing we found in here. So some things didn't even have faces and we don't even know what those were.
Oh my gosh.
We even found chickens in the walls. These New York City sewer rats were so big, they were taking chickens and bringing them into the house and eating them in the walls. It was amazing.
Chris, I can't even.
Yeah. So we couldn't actually live here until we could prove that the house was clear and that the city said it was safe for us to move into. So we lived in a hotel for, I'd say probably 3 to about 5 months. And we ran our business from the hotel in Whitby. And then we come down here when we fix it up. We had to remove all the basement walls. We ended up finding 20 holes that they had burrowed in. And we had to fill them all in and rebuild everything from the ground up. And then we just kind of slowly, after a year of crying, literally, I think we cried every day thinking, what have we done? We exceeded most days our ability to save money. We spent so much money putting it into drywall and pest control that we couldn't believe what we had done. It was a struggle. It was really hard. But when you go and you're making a decision and you get that gut feeling, like you're excited, but you're scared at the same time. I don't get that often. I always go with it and it always turns out to be a great decision. It took a couple of years for this to be a great decision, but it worked out pretty good.
Did you have a bit of a budget of what you thought that it would cost you to fix this house up and what it actually ended up costing?
About $100,000, I thought. It's been well over 200,000 now, I'd say. Our accountant, he said that we're about the $200,000 mark now after 5 years. We didn't know it was coming with as many family pets as it did. But it was definitely a challenge and a lot of money. And now that we have been able to, I guess, stay here a little longer than the 5 years COVID hit where we were going to sell, we couldn't. So we just decided to put a little bit more money in 5 new patio doors and kind of making it a little bit fancier. But I mean, we bought it for $669,000. We thought once our mortgage company said that our home was worth 1.3, which we thought was amazing. And then our neighbor just last week sold for 1.8.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking we've well then doubled our money here.
And
So
when you bought, like, how much would a similar home go for at the time that you bought? Do you remember?
back then, the homes around here were, some of them, if it was a 2-story, it was selling for over $1 million. If it was the bungalow like we have, 3,200 square foot bungalow, then it would be selling for about $950, and we bought it for $669. So, I mean, we should have known something was really wrong. How do you know?
Right. Yeah. But you're like, well, I can fix this. This doesn't look so bad. I remember we looked at a house one time and it was rough. The people who were living there were punching holes in the walls, and like, it was a very, very rough situation. And me as the positive person is like, oh, like, this is not bad. Like a new drywall, and we can fix this up, some paint, fix these windows. It'll be great. And my real estate agent said to me, so what are you going to do when the people come knocking on the door looking for the previous people who lived here? Right? Like, it was that kind of a house. And I was like, oh yeah, you're right. Like, that's
actually happened to us for the first 2 years. If a teenage child went missing from here to Pickering, the police would always show up here first and they would question us. We didn't realize our basement windows weren't working. So we had squatters sometimes living in our basement. And when we actually moved in about 6 months after we purchased the home, we just finally got the master bedroom all kind of cleaned up. And I had a little baseball bat. Well, it was laid right beside my head. Someone had come into the house to collect money. I don't know. There was a couple days we found holes in the basements. They were searching for something. We found a great big huge bag of cocaine in the pool this big. So it was quite interesting, actually, that just this whole, it was a drug house. It was a squatter home. So if a kid went missing, the police would look here first, but the baseball bat was right beside my head. So whoever broke in realized they moved. We've had the cops come here probably 3 or 4 times looking for the young lad that used to live here because he isn't showing up for court dates.
Yeah, this is like something out of a soap opera.
Yeah, so we changed the windows.
Yeah, as you should.
Yeah.
So I guess in hindsight, though, looking back, would you still do it again?
In a heartbeat. My next dream home, as soon as, if I were to sell this for even say $2 million, you know, I started off with no money, buying my first home for $179,000, taking 5 years to flip that, making $335,000, rolling it into a bigger house with more heartache and drama. And then now being able to sell this for $2 million, I'm going to buy a little house, little fixer-upper on the lake, and I'm going to die there in my rocking chair.
Yeah. I posted an article the other day about how homes are now making more money than people, right? And when we've been through homes where we've made, you know, decent money on them, it's very easy to see, like how hard would you have to work for that same amount of money? Very hard, right?
We did discuss buying a little itty bitty home here in Bowmanville and potentially making it a 2 apartments and then selling it that way. I think we could make some good money that way, and it would be a lot more than what we would make cleaning houses for sure.
Yeah. So we've done that, right? In 3 houses, well, now 4 that we have duplexes. And I mean, there's a big market for that now because people can't get into the market. So young people are buying with their parents or friends or multi-generational families because they don't want their parents to be in a nursing home anymore with COVID. So I think there's a lot of market for those types of properties just because it's more flexible. Okay. And so you would do it all over again, which I love.
I would.
Now you also own a business. So do you want to tell us a little bit about your business?
Oh, yeah, thank you. It's You've Got It Made. It's a commercial and residential cleaning service. We have crews that go out and clean houses Monday through Friday, and then in the evenings and on the weekends, we clean businesses. So we can clean a business as big as 100,000 square feet to as small as a 1,500 square foot small chiropractor's office or lawyer's office. So we've been in business now for about 18 years, and me and my husband run it together. We have a great core group of girls and a really great business idea, policies and procedures and structures, and it's worked out quite well with us, or for us, that we can actually be able to do this and be able to work at the same time, so we can make our own hours. So we've been very lucky.
And you guys have added some sanitization services now too, right?
Yeah, we have these Sani sprayers, so we can go in and clean, not clean, but just sanitize stadiums, churches. So if someone does end up getting sick, we just go in, we just spray everything down and we leave. And then it's all touch free, which is a kind of a neat system.
Right.
So,
yeah, I think it's a really good add to the business. And I know a lot of people who maybe clean their own businesses might just want to have you come in once in a while and do that, right? Just for their own peace of mind for their clients.
yeah, we have businesses like physiotherapy clinics. Majority of the time, it's the medical sector that wants us to come in and really sanitize, but we have low acid, more alkaline based sanitizers that we use, so it doesn't damage their beds and their doorknobs and their paints and such. So it's a sound sanitization system.
Very cool. Yeah. And much needed these days, right? With acute awareness of where we go and what we touch and, illnesses that can be caused, right? So if people want to talk more about maybe your experience in real estate and if they're considering buying an as-is home, or maybe they have questions about your cleaning services or a business or a home that they could use your cleaning at, how do they get a hold of you?
We can talk through our website, which is you'vegotitmadedurham.com, or they can email me at info@you'vegotitmadedurham.com.
Awesome. And how many years have you owned this home for? Do you still have people showing up?
Yeah, no, not anymore. No.
So how many years do people have to own the home before its memory fades from the previous owners?
Well, from the police, it was about 1.5 years. But I mean, some of the people who live around here, they still talk about the people that used to come in and out of the windows. I think that it just kind of sticks around 3 years before people finally accepted we were sticking around and we were good.
The first house we ever bought, the other half of the semi was rented per room. And there were some very interesting characters that would come in and out of that place because it was very cheap living. And for years after, this lovely family moved in, and it was just random people on the front lawn yelling at Tuesday night at 10 o'clock, like police still showing up. It took a long time. It's just like, you never know kind of what you're really inheriting when you buy a resale home, right?
Yeah, you have no idea.
Yeah. I mean, and when they sold it, like they cleaned it up really good. So I'm sure these people had no idea that they were buying. Like, I remember before they cleaned it up in the basement, there was like pizza boxes and garbage to your waist that just these people had just left the garbage in there. It was crazy.
Yeah, this was much like this house too. We have one guy, a couple of guys have come to fill our pools. We have a pool in the backyard. We took 200 bags of garbage just out from around the pool. And one guy shows up and he says, "I'm here for my money before I'll even fill your pool." And I said, "What are you talking about?" He says, "You owe me money." I said, "Oh, I'm not the old person." I said, "Here's my ID. Please fill my pool." But even the people who treated the water system, they've come to us knocking on the door. And they even told us that they couldn't even walk to get to the water area without having to walk around stacks of things. And just, If you could have just imagined what we even found in the ceiling tiles in this house was just amazing.
Well, I think a bag of cocaine probably takes the cake.
Bullshit.
Well, so thank you for joining me today. This is Denise Laframboise, and this is the Real Stories in Real Estate podcast. You can find this podcast and all the other episodes on Spotify, Audible, iTunes, or wherever you find your podcasts, or you'll be able to find them all at www.deniselaframboise.ca. Thanks for being here today, Chris.
Thanks.